Good day to you and welcome to another edition that's going to prove to be very informative for you, the viewer, as we visit again with uh, Quatro Legal and Sue. Welcome, Sue. It's good to have you today. And Debbie with Quatro Legal. I'm Terry from
Thanks.
Howler Magazine, and it's another one. We hope these webinars will give you the information you need from the source, and because there's so many places you can get information and there's a lot of confusion, and it's great to go to the source for this kind of information. Caja is the big subject for today, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Sue or Debbie, and then tell us
Okay.
Debbie, what's all going on with Caja and all the requirements, and is it that difficult?
Okay. We're going to cover it all, Terry.
Okay.
Thanks for yeah, we're going to call because I'm telling you, I believe that Caja is like one of the mysteries of the universe that keeps people from applying because they just don't understand it and they don't know how much it's going to be. And so it's really always an important educational opportunity to learn that, because that way you know that when you get approved for residency, you're going to be able to afford this monthly fee. And so I'm here with Sue today, and what I would like to tell everybody out there is that I know you have questions and you're excited to be here just like we are, but I also know you have friends that may or may not have this or be on right now with you. So if you could please share this with them. You know, all you have to do is send them the link via email or WhatsApp or text or however, and let them know as well, because the more people who understand, then when you're out and about at a function, you know, you can say, look, I just learned all about this. You know, I know now, I'm not afraid of it. And if you could also make sure and like our webinar series, it helps us to bring more of these educational opportunities to the expats in Costa Rica. And you can subscribe to our channel as well. And then that way, again, we can bring more to you. So Sue, please tell us a little bit about the Caja. Like what is it?
Thank you, Debbie and Terry, for having me today. And yes, well, an informed client is a happy client. So we're going to talk about Caja and the difficulties that you can find along the road. And the Caja, or the Costa Rican Social Security Fund, is an institution that was created back in 1941 to provide healthcare and social security benefits to the entire population in Costa Rica. Services are available for residents, temporary, permanent, Costa Ricans. Basically anyone can use Caja, but the registration process, it's what we're here for today, and what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Great.
Who all qualifies for the Caja? Do I have to be a resident exactly, or can you explain that?
Sure. Now, for clients that have been approved as a temporary resident or also as a permanent resident, they need to enroll into Caja because it is a requirement established by the Immigration Directorate in their approval resolution. So the Immigration Directorate gives 90 days so you can complete this registration process, and it will be completed for main applicants in one of the 75 offices scattered across the country. And for dependents, it will be they will be registered in the local clinic.
Okay. So what, for layman's term, for my terms, how exactly I become a resident, how exactly is the process? How is it calculated, and how does it work? Help me. What is it similar to in the States, if I was to use some references?
Yeah, no, and that's very interesting because sometimes in the U.S. you think about Medicare, Medicaid, but it's very different here in Costa Rica. So the registration process, well, we need to figure out the category of our clients. So is our client a rentista? Is our client a pensionado? Or is a client client an investor? These are the most common categories for residents. So the process will be different for each of these categories. So, for example, if you're a pensionado, you will get registered with the pension letter that you filed at immigration. In some Caja offices, they consider the amount in the approval resolution, so that's something you got to be careful. And there is something really important that everyone must understand, and it's for Caja you will have to pay a monthly fee. So for pensionados, if we use the amount in the resolution, which is $1,000, that means that the client will have to pay between $80 and $100, depending on the dollar amount of that day. Mm-hmm. Now, different is the case with rentistas, for example, and here it's where it gets tricky, right? As you all know, rentistas are approved because they have an income of $2,500. So the amount that they will have to pay monthly will be from $350 to up to $370. So,
wow.
So really important for the clients and for everyone to understand the categories that they want to pursue, and also understand how Caja will impact, right? Because now you think about coming to Costa Rica and staying for 20 years and paying $375 monthly for something that probably already have an international Medicare insurance. So it's tricky. That's why I'm here. And then the other category that we work with a lot is the investor category. So that's a bit, I really like working with this category because the monthly fee that they will have to pay will be fixed and based on the minimum income, which is $750. So that means our clients will be able to pay somewhere between $75 and $100, no more than that. So you have to balance between if you go for a rentista, you have to take a big consideration into Caja and how it works for the other categories.
Okay.
Now that's significant difference, isn't it, Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this something I can just do? What's the benefits of using Quatro Legal to help me maneuver this process?
Yeah, well, first, we provide the service anywhere in the country. If our clients live in Pavones, or if our clients live in Guanacaste, we have understanding and a lot of experience with working with offices in Santa Cruz, offices in Nicoya, in Pérez Celedón. So we understand how Caja, which is a very complex institution because of the nature of it, how they work and all of that. We provide that security that the process will be smooth, will be fast, and we're not going to have any bumps in the road, right? Because we're dealing with public institutions. So, and a lot of for the main applicant, the registration must be in person. There's no way of using a POA different than from dependents. So we also provide that bilingual service and assistance with the client in the Caja office. So the client only will have to sit over there in the chair of the Caja office, and we will handle the registration from beginning to end, along with the requirements and all the documents needed.
Super. So what's the time frame like if I come to your office and until it takes effect? What can I expect? Is this, and there's a lot of different processes and they take a lot of different time. So what does Caja's time span look like?
Yeah, because it really depends. Like if our clients live in the city, you require appointments to go get registered in the city, but you don't require appointments to get registered in Guanacaste. So it really depends on where the client lives. Although also we have clients that only come to Costa Rica to finish the registration process, and they come for a week, no more than that. So we have to schedule everything, and that means that we accommodate to every client's request. But the process should be done. Unless it's a rural area, very, very far away, let's talk about something in San Carlos, La Tigra, you get your registration that same day. If you live very, very far away in a very not known area, probably the registration will take a little bit more time because they don't have the resources like the big offices in the cities. But it's a very, very fast process that can be done the same day, depending on where the client lives.
Okay. Is there any way that, say, I think that amount is too high, or y'all tell me that need to reconsider this? Is that a painful process, or is that something that's common that I can change, especially if my status as a resident changes?
That one it's a tricky one, Terry, because can you
See us for more?
I know, because if you're a permanent resident, we can think about a readjustment because you have already lost your restricted category, which was rentista, pensionado, or investor, and then you can use the minimum income to start paying Caja. So yes, readjustments for permanent residents are something that we do, that a service that we provide, but it doesn't work that way for temporary residents, because then Caja says, how are you going to demonstrate that your income has changed? For example, a rentista, $2,500, if you have been approved with a category that says that you have to have a $2,500 income. So unless there is a change in public policy that you have never seen in this country, it will be very hard to change that main requirement for a temporary resident. So what I tell clients is just to wait until they're able to file for permanent residency. And as soon as they have their permanent residency approved, we go to Caja and request their readjustment.
Okay. Hey, Debbie, what's your experience?
Yeah, hang on a second. I have a question. So, Sue, because a lot of people that's going to apply to right now, because, this IBM added on a couple of years ago, I think, like March 13th or something like that. If you are the people who were approved before the IBM started, and you now have your permanent, if you're reevaluated, will you still just pay the Caja, or will you have to pay the IBM since you've been reevaluated?
The reevaluation works for both regimes, but under no circumstance they will eliminate one of the percentages. Like, they will still have to pay for at least a super small percentage for IBM. So it's not like completely cut off to zero. The IBM or the SEM regime, no, it's distributed almost equally.
Okay, so they could end up paying a little bit of the IBM if they're reevaluated if they weren't paying it before. Is that what you're saying? Well, we would have to see how the office works, because, and also how, like, the status of the dollar on that same day. Could vary. It could vary a minimum amount, but it's not like something that will be extremely considerate. Like, for example, you're paying $25 and then you're going to pay $100. No, that's not going to happen. It will vary the minimum percentage. Right. Well, I was just thinking about that because probably no one has done that yet because of when that was passed. I think it will be another year before anyone will be approved for permanent, right, that hasn't been paying the IVM. Because, next year, if somebody's had theirs for 2 years, this next upcoming 25 is when they would start their application, right, for permanent. They wouldn't be approved till probably 26. So we're probably not going to really see a lot of that impact and what they're going to plan to do until 26 anyway. But so, Terry, I'm sorry. What were you asking me?
You've been here a while, or coming here a while. What's your experience? What was your experience with Caja?
We've had a very good experience with Caja. If you're on Facebook or social media for more than 10 seconds, you're going to have, 5 people tell you 10 different stories, about Caja. Ourselves, what we use it for is we go to the doctor. Now, I'm going to tell you, we are not fluent in Spanish. My Spanish is about not quite kindergarten, and I can only do anything in present tense. So, that's limiting. Generally, what I do is I print out what I want to tell them before I go. Most of the Caja doctors now are all using Google Translate, so it makes it fairly simple. And you make your appointments online. Now, if you have trouble and it seems like they're booked up a lot, you can go to your actual clinic in your little community and get an appointment. You have to go in the morning, and then they'll give you an appointment, and then you go back. So to me, it's been fairly simple. We generally use it more for, we get like our lab work done when we're there, always, every year. Any medications, we get our medications, and they have a very simple system for that. They give you a little slip of paper, right? And on that slip of paper, it tells you what days to come. And on those days you come, they just hand you your bag of your prescriptions. And so it's very simple. In our clinic, at least, if we go there before we leave, and I tell them we're going to leave, and I show them my plane ticket to leave, we'll get 3 months supply when we leave the country. And so for some medications, especially inhalers, that is a great thing, because in the States, even with Medicare and pretty good insurance, they can be expensive. We haven't, knock on wood, had any big emergency type thing happen. My husband did go to the ER. It'll be almost 2 years in February. We had a little pretty good fender bender on the quad. And he had an x-ray. By the time that he was in and out of the ER before someone could come pick me up and take me there. And we were probably 30 minutes away. So I thought that was really quick. And they did the x-rays, they did more lab tests and all that kind of thing. What people will tell you is the difference between there and like the States, because that's what I'm most familiar with. You're going to wait longer there for testing. So if you go into your Caja and they decide that you need an MRI, or they decide you need some specific type of x-ray, or if they decide whatever, then you're going to wait for that. And so what most people do there is they will pay out of pocket for the testing. I have a very good friend that a few years back, she thought she needed a test, and so she went and paid out of pocket for a colonoscopy. Unfortunately, that colonoscopy came back positive. They transferred her from the private doc's office that did the test to the Caja, and all of her surgery, all of her chemo, everything was covered. And she is just as good as she can be now, which is really wonderful, because I was really worried about that. But she is just doing great. So a lot of people use it like that. And so, yes, you would have some out of pocket, but certainly nothing that you would otherwise. People can buy private insurance in Costa Rica. For some of us who are challenged with a little bit of age on us, it's pretty expensive. Some of that is because it's like a world coverage. It'll also cover you in the States. And so far, I've not seen a product that just was specifically just for Costa Rica. But for younger folks, I think it's pretty reasonable. You can also, a lot of people will get travel insurance. There are policies now of travel insurance that will cover you for longer than just like we're kind of used to getting it for 2 weeks. It's way different than this policy. You click, when you buy your ticket on the airplane, it's, oh, you want travel insurance? It's much more specific and much broader insurance. The only company I've ever used, because people ask me that, is Berkshire Hathaway. But I know I've looked at other policies. There's a ton of them out there. You just have to really be careful about if they cover pre-existing conditions. And most of them, it tells you right there. And a lot of them will say yes, as long as you buy the ticket within whatever their dates are for their policy, then you'll be covered. So that's kind of us. A lot of people don't like to wait for testing, but my friend that went through that experience, she got that the colonoscopy back. She was in for her surgery in 2 weeks. That's about the same as it's going to be anywhere. In the States, it's going to, by the time they find out, they got to schedule everything, and the doctor's got to be free, and it's got to be his day, and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was very reasonable. But you just got to kind of know how to use the system and what you could. Does that make sense? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Is that too much?
No. Sue, to wrap this up, tell me just in a nutshell again, the advantages of me considering Caja. Why do I need to call the number, send an email, talk to Quatro Legal about this?
Well, first, because the process is not easy. There is a language barrier that we're here for, and that we want to make the process as smooth as possible. We have experience and providers all across the country that are very familiarized with Caja's policies, depending on the territory, and also the bilingual service and personal assistance that we provide in each of the appointments of every family member that needs to be registered, and also the time that we take. It's usually something very fast, and that we will have results for our clients as soon as possible. We just need them to stay a couple of hours in the country so we can get this through. But that's why we're here to provide an excellent experience with the Social Security registration.
Well, I will. Yeah, sorry, Terry, to interrupt. I wanted to tell you something. As the person who has sat in the chair while someone was at the Caja desk to do our Caja, I can tell you it was the greatest thing ever, because it's just kind of a worry. It's a worrisome thing. You know, it's new, it's different, it's new and it's different. It's all in Spanish, you know, and there, you know, there's very few expats that are fluent enough in Spanish. I mean, I can read way more Spanish than I can converse, but I still would not depend on being able to go up there and sit at the desk by myself. So I loved someone going up to the desk, doing that, and then just bringing my papers and saying, okay, here's what it is. This is what you're going to pay. And I can tell you the relief for us to get that number was monumental, because of all of these stories that you read and people say things and you don't understand. So having somebody like Quatro that will actually go there and sit at the desk for you, it's great.
So you can't really put a rate on having a peace of mind.
That's right. I agree.
Yeah. Sue and Debbie, thank you so much for joining us for this
You're
edition.
welcome.
Please share this with other people. Once again, so much information, misinformation is out there. Consider Quatro Legal when it comes to you finding out what you need to know about Caja, the registration, the process, and how to get it for you. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.